Let's welcome on board as well Sandip Sabharwal, who is joining in. And Sandeep, good to have you on board with all that's happening with Nvidia. Stellar moves, largest single day gain in history. What is it that you're making of tech in particular and the kind of strides that we've made here?
Yeah, technology is a great story, but I think in innovative companies and which exist either in the private space in India or in countries like US, Korea, etc. So, although as a let's say follow through or a correlation to the Nasdaq moves, we see technology stocks in India also move, but they have hardly anything to do with AI at this stage. In fact, they have businesses which could actually be hit by AI as the generations move forward. However, I think most people see it as correlated and to that extent create some upsides in the short term.
Okay, fair enough. Let's understand your take as well on the participation of some of these auto stocks. They really packed in a punch, be it a Bajaj Auto, for instance, Eicher Motors, M&M and Maruti, all at the forefront in yesterday's trading day. What's the sense that you're getting with new launches planned with respect to EV at the forefront? Will the road ahead be smooth for auto, and where is it that you're seeing preference?
Autos continue to do well, driven by various factors. One, the volume growth has been steady. Like it's not extraordinary, but it's steady at a decent pace, except for two-wheelers where the growth has been pretty aggressive. Secondly, input price pressures continue to be moderate for most of these companies. And thirdly, and more importantly, the value chain is moving up. So even with a volume growth of 7-8%, the value growth is much greater, which is leading to improved, much faster increase in profits. And in this quarter, we saw most of the auto company actually beat expectations by a wide margin. So I would think that as we move forward into this year, we'll also see rural revival play out, and that could also keep on contributing to sales growth. So auto is in a decent space. Now, many of the stocks have moved up sharply. They'll obviously might go through some phase of consolidation, except for Maruti, which has just started to move. Like it did not move for a very, very long time. So I think that's where, in a percentage basis, upside is there. Otherwise, we own M&M, Maruti, and as well as Tata Motors, and we continue to hold and no intention of selling in the near term.
Morning. Have you been a buyer in HDFC Bank sub 1400?
No, I have not bought. I think, uh, but I think risk reward for people who are willing to wait out is now better because it it's underperformed so much. The management is now making positive statements of intent to improve margins, although it will be difficult. But I think they are trying to do that. So risk reward in terms of investors who are willing to wait it out could be that they could be potentially a 7 to 10% downside in case the market sells off, but the upside could be twice of that from current level. So I think the risk reward now has is turning favorable for HDFC Bank. I haven't bought yet, but we'll see at some stage might buy.
Meantime, Sandeep, wanted to get in your take on Honasa, the fact that Citi has initiated their coverage. They've got a buy rating with a 550 rupee target price, saying that the financial performance is improving with scale. Do you see a smart growth opportunity? How are you looking at the portfolio of brands that Honasa has?
So last 2 quarters, I think the last quarter especially, the financial seem to have improved, but the jury is still out in terms of how they will do in terms of sustaining these margins as they cut down on and sustaining growth as they cut down on potentially advertisement and promotion, which is one of their major expenditures. And there's also news flow that the inventory in the system for their products is very, very high at this stage. So I think it's still wait and watch. The valuations are not cheap by any parameter. So we need to watch and see how they perform.
All right.
Okay, that's the take coming in on Honasa right now. Just looking at the Jefferies strategy note this morning, that top buys include the likes of ICICI Bank, Axis, SBI. Amongst the smaller ones, of course, there's ICICI Lombard, Shriram Finance, KFin Technologies. But it's interesting to note that the underperforming calls include the likes of HPCL, Biocon, Laurus Labs, there's Gujarat Gas, there's Asian Paints, and there's Tech Mahindra in there as well. Sandeep, what do you think, the launch of Grasim's paint business now means for the likes of Asian Paints? Of course, one wave of correction has already taken place in most of these names, but do you think there's room for all?
Yeah, the room ultimately will be created for everyone, but the initial period of the first 2 years at least will be very disruptive in my view, because what Grasim's statements indicate is that they are not looking at profits in the immediate term. They want to gain market share. So if that is the strategy of a very large company with deep pockets, then they will go for aggressive predatory pricing, and that could hurt the margins of all the incumbent players. So the paint industry on the organized side has been a very cozy oligopoly, which I think now is going to get disrupted. So it's a space which I don't think is investable at this stage. So people need to, I think, forget the paint space for some time.
Sandeep, you've talked about your auto bets, but what about auto ancillaries? Anything that you like there or have added positions on recently?
In auto ancillary, we used to own tire stocks, especially Apollo tires, but right now we have exited because the valuation, in my view, went up very sharply and the margins seem to have peaked out. So those were the only ones we were owning. So there's companies which are doing well, but we don't own any. Yeah, and this Bharat Forge obviously is another stock which we owned, which we picked up very early, but that also we've exited because of near-term growth concerns. So right now, no holding in auto ancillaries.
All right, nothing when it comes to auto ancillary. Meantime, since we were talking about the charts of an ABB as well as a Cummins, we have seen a meteoric rise as well in ABB. Axis Cap, though, has downgraded the stock, saying that the rally is overdone and that they'd wait for a better entry point, and that the management commentary was pretty much a reiteration of what they have done in the past quarters. That's ABB that I'm talking about. Sandeep, just wanted to get in your thoughts on, the entire space and ABB in particular.
So ABB over the last few quarters has done extraordinarily well. Every quarter they beat expectations of analysts by a very, very wide margin. So that's the reason why the stock's done so well. Right now, I would think that the valuations have reached levels where it's tough to buy for new investors. However, the visibility is so good that there's no reason for existing investors to sell, because they can take some correction even if it comes, because if they've been holding for some time. So I think it's a hold stock at this stage. For people wanting to get in afresh, I think they have to wait for some bad days or market corrections.
Maybe 54.25. It's just been an extraordinary surge in last 2 days, when it comes to ABB. Sandip Sabharwal, let's talk about a stock which we used to discuss extensively. I haven't spoken about it. The stock has hit an all-time high. It starts with J, that is GIO, Geo Financials. What's happening there? Suddenly 300 rupees.
So I think people think it's the NVIDIA of India, I think. That's why it's moving up. But that company is actually making $20 billion every quarter and profits of $5.5 billion. This company, I don't know what it does and why it should hold such a market cap, because financial is a very competitive business. It's not like telecom, etc., where because you got in at a time or you had a policy which could get you growth. Here, it's not so easy. So let's see how it plays out.
But you will not buy Geo Financial Services with the promise that they can create some magical things in the digital platform. You will not buy it.
No, because I stopped buying on promise after 2008.
Promise is a promise. Reality and promise, they could be different, even though intentions are right. Sometimes compulsions are really always at play. But there is one promise we always, in a sense, honor. Stock ideas from Sandip Sabharwal. Now that's one promise तो रखना पड़ेगा भैया.
Its market is becoming tougher and tougher. That's the issue because whatever you held and you thought it should move up, those stocks have moved up so much. I think on the large cap side, Maruti still, I think, has legs, so that could go higher. L&T after correction on the Saudi Aramco postponement of orders, etc., that could, uh, as that's corrected, I think 10% from the top, so that could open up some upside. So I think on the large cap sides, those could do well. On the mid cap side, I talked of us having bought V-Guard Industries, so it's at the same level. It's not moved at all because people are not yet confident on the consumer durable story. I think that looks like a reasonable low volatility bet to me.
Revival in rural economy as a theme, Sandeep, for next couple of quarters. I mean, urban did well, ultra luxury is done well. Could it be the other way around now?
So rural will revive for sure because rural always revives when inflation comes under control, and then there's also uh, recent scientific indications which indicate that El Nino is coming to an end, and by the time the monsoons hit, we will be in a La Nina phase. So that will also be good for agricultural production and overall growth of the rural economy. So I think that's reasonable, but whether it's 2 quarters or the next 1 year, that's something we'll have to see.
Fair enough. Moving right on then, wanted to know your strategy as well when it comes to some of these real estate counters, Prestige, Phoenix Mills. Do you believe that we can see long-term growth prospects continue? Because without a doubt, that that's just a 3-month chart of the real estate sector. There has already been a meteoric rise, Sandeep.
Yeah. So I think the rise has been very strong. I believe that valuations are sort of, or if not yet fully, sort of in a bubble kind of zone for the real estate sector because the price hikes and the moves, etc., all indicate a sort of frenzy. So I think people should be careful investing in real estate stock at these valuations now.